In a quiet kingdom bordered by silver rivers and bluebell forests, there lived an old shoemaker named Thalen. He worked alone in a shop that glowed softly with the scent of polished leather and enchanted wax. Though he made shoes for noblewomen and queens, Thalen was no ordinary craftsman, for each pair he created held a trace of ancient magic passed down through generations. His most guarded secret was a crystal chest hidden beneath his floorboards, within which rested a pair of glass shoes, so delicate that moonlight shimmered through them like flowing water. He had been told by his ancestors, "These shoes shall one day choose their wearer, and she shall change the fate of a kingdom." Years passed, and the shoes remained untouched. No one seemed worthy of them. Many ladies, duchesses, and princesses had visited, trying them on in vain. The shoes would not fit, no matter the size or spell cast. Thalen often wondered if the prophecy was false, until one spring morning when he awoke from a vivid dream. In it, he had seen a girl running barefoot through the forest, her laughter mingling with the song of 1,000 birds. She wore no crown, no jewels, only a simple blue dress, yet the glass shoes in his dream glowed at her feet like living stars. Thalen's heart raced. He knew the time was near. In a small village beyond the hills lived Elara, a kind-hearted orphan who spent her days helping others. She was not rich, but her heart was richer than any gold. She tended to the sick, sang to the lonely, and gathered wildflowers for those who had forgotten how to smile. Her only dream was to see the royal gardens one day, the place where beauty bloomed year-round, guarded by the queen's decree. She never imagined her life would ever touch the world beyond her village, let alone the royal palace. One day, the queen announced a grand ball to find a princess of the people, not of blood, but of spirit. Whoever showed true grace, wisdom, and courage would be chosen as the new princess to rule beside her son, Prince Aaron. All the maidens of the kingdom were invited. The village buzzed with excitement, but Elara sighed. She had no dress, no shoes, no carriage. Still, something deep inside her, a quiet whisper, told her that destiny had its own way of finding her. As twilight fell, Elara wandered into the forest to clear her thoughts. The soft hum of night filled the air. Suddenly, she saw a faint light glowing between the trees, a humble cottage with golden smoke curling from the chimney. She approached cautiously and knocked. The door opened, and there stood Thalen, the old shoemaker. His eyes widened the moment he saw her, as though the dream had stepped into reality. "You," he murmured, his voice trembling, "you're the one." Inside Thalen's cottage, the air shimmered faintly with the scent of silver and starlight. The old shoemaker led Elara to his workbench, where tools of curious design rested, hammers made of crystal, threads spun from moonlight, and a chest that pulsed with a gentle blue glow. He knelt and lifted its lid, revealing the legendary glass shoes. Each one glittered like frozen sunlight, and yet they seemed almost alive, their edges humming with a faint melody. Elara gasped. She had never seen anything so beautiful, nor felt such warmth from a thing made of glass. "These shoes were not made to be worn by pride or vanity," Thalen said softly. "They choose a heart that is pure, one who will walk with kindness, even when unseen." He placed the shoes before her. "Try them, child." Elara hesitated. "But I'm no princess." Thalen smiled. "Nor were the first queens who learned to rule. Destiny does not always wear silk." Elara carefully slid her foot toward the first shoe. The moment her skin touched it, the glass rippled like liquid light. A soft wind circled the room, carrying whispers of forgotten songs. Then, as though molded just for her, the shoe fit perfectly, neither too tight nor loose, but snug and alive. Thalen's eyes filled with tears. "So it is true," he whispered. "The glass shoes have chosen." But as Elara stood, the room darkened for a heartbeat. Shadows twisted in the corners, and a faint crack echoed from the shoes, small but sharp. Thalen's joy turned to fear. "No, that should not have happened." "What's wrong?" Elara asked, clutching the table. "The shoes have been sealed for too long," he said gravely. "Their bond to the kingdom's heart is weak. You must go to the palace, before the final moon of the spring, or their magic will turn to curse." With that, he wrapped the shoes carefully in silk and handed them to her. Go, my child. The path will test your heart. But remember, the shoes do not serve those who walk for glory. They serve those who walk for others. And with that, Thalen sent her out into the misty dawn, where destiny awaited on the road to the royal palace. The journey to the capital was longer than Elara imagined. She crossed valleys bathed in morning dew and climbed hills that glowed with fireflies. At every stop, she helped someone, an old woman with a broken cart, a shepherd whose lamb was lost, a child who had dropped her bread into a river. Each act of kindness made the glass shoes hum softly inside their wrapping, glowing faintly as if in gratitude. When Elara finally reached the city gates, she was struck by its splendor: towers of pearl, streets paved with marble, and gardens that shimmered under lantern light. But the people's faces were tense, their laughter thin. She overheard whispers: "The queen grows ill, the prince will soon have to rule, and whoever wins his heart may save us all." Elara's heart ached, not for the crown, but for the sorrow that lingered in such beauty. At sunset, the palace opened its golden doors. Hundreds of maidens entered, their dresses blazing like jeweled fire. Elara stood in her simple blue gown, feeling invisible. Yet, when she slipped on the glass shoes, the ballroom itself seemed to hush. The crystal floors reflected her every step, and as she moved, the shoes sang not with vanity, but with grace. Prince Aaron noticed. His gaze followed her, curiosity softening into a we. As they danced, he asked, "Who are you?" "I'm no one of importance," she said, smiling gently. "Just someone who believes kindness can still heal a kingdom." Her words struck something deep in him, something long asleep. For years, he had seen power, wealth, and beauty, but never truth so simple. Yet as the clock neared midnight, a sudden gust of cold wind swept through the hall. The candles flickered out. A strange shadow slid across the floor, a figure cloaked in black. A voice whispered through the darkness, "You cannot choose her. The shoes belong to me." The guests gasped as the shadow took form, a woman with a veil of midnight silk and eyes like shattered mirrors. "Who are you?" cried the prince, drawing back. The woman lifted her hand and the air froze. She said in a voice that echoed like bells underwater, "am Queen Seraphine, the first ruler who wore those very shoes. I was betrayed by the kingdom I built, my name erased, my heart buried beneath stone. And now the shoes awaken only to torment me." Elara trembled but stepped forward. "If you once wore them, then you must know their purpose. They are meant for love, not vengeance." The ghost queen laughed bitterly. "Love? Love gave me ruin." Her eyes fell on Elara. "You are not worthy." But the shoes began to glow again, brighter, fiercer, as if defending their new bearer. "No," Seraphine hissed. "You will not replace me." She raised her arms, and the ballroom shattered into shards of light, sending everyone tumbling into a world of swirling mist. Elara awoke in a desolate version of the palace, the mirror realm, ruled by Seraphine's grief. The walls wept shadows, and the floor reflected memories that weren't hers, a younger Seraphine smiling, then betrayed by advisors who stole her throne. Elara's heart softened. "You don't need revenge," she whispered to the empty air. "You need to be remembered." A faint sob echoed. Seraphine appeared again, her anger faltering. Elara approached slowly, her shoes shimmering brighter. "Let me carry your story," Elara said. "Not as your replacement, but as your hope." The queen hesitated. The shoes pulsed once, then twice. A single tear fell from Seraphine's spectral eye, landing on the glass shoes. The crack that had marred them before sealed itself with light. And as dawn broke across the mirror realm, the ghost of the forgotten queen smiled and dissolved into golden dust. Elara awoke back in the ballroom, the dawn sun pouring through the windows. The guests were still there, murmuring in confusion, unaware that an eternity had passed in a heartbeat. The shoes shone like twin stars, casting soft rays of hope across the marble floor. Prince Aaron stood before her, tears glinting in his eyes. "What happened?" he whispered. Elara smiled faintly. A story was set free. Word spread quickly, the ghost queen's curse was broken. The queen, who had fallen gravely ill, recovered the next morning as if years had been lifted from her heart. It was her, the queen said softly, taking Elara's hands. The one the shoes chose. The glass shoes shimmered in agreement, humming gently like a lullaby to the realm. Prince Aaron and Elara spent the following months traveling through the kingdom, healing its wounds, rebuilding its faith. She never wore jewels, nor demanded bows. Her power came from kindness, and her rule from understanding. When she was crowned princess of the people, the crowd's cheers echoed for miles. For the first time in decades, the land felt alive. On the night of her coronation, Elara visited the shoemaker's cottage. But Thalen was gone, the house empty, save for a note on the workbench. The shoes have found their heart. My task is done. She smiled, looking toward the stars, certain his spirit watched from among them. Then, gently, she placed the shoes back into the crystal chest. Rest, she whispered, until the world needs you again. And so, the legend of the glass shoes lived on, not as a tale of royalty or riches, but as a story of compassion, courage, and a girl who proved that true nobility lies not in the crown one wears, but in the heart one carries.